Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Reel Me In, a movie podcast where you didn't really ask for it, but I'm going to give it to you anyways. This is a podcast where I talk about anything, everything, anything about movies. Hey listen, if you were on the internet today and you were stumbling across, I don't know, like another podcast and you accidentally came across mine and you're not really a big movie fan, maybe I can convince you to be one, and my guest will also convince you to be one as well. I'm Chase Lee and this is episode 81. Holy shit, man. Where has the time gone? I have done this podcast for almost 2 years now, and my guest is looking at me like going, wow, I would rather be sitting in a room somewhere watching Sesame Street over and over again than listen to this garbage. And he's absolutely right. Except, you know, I'm a little bit more educational than Sesame Street. I mean, you're going to learn a lot on the show, ladies and gentlemen. So, but like I said, I have a guest on today, and he's been here before. Is Bryan's back? Bryan Sudfield. Bryan, how you doing today, man?
I'm good. How are you, man?
Just doing the do. Bryan also runs a podcast, and it's called The Films Of, and he goes over specific people in the industry, actors, directors, what have you. I actually did an episode with him, and I co-hosted with him. It was the episode of Denzel Washington. My nigga. So, I mean, like, you know, it was a lot of fun to be had and stuff. And I realized I just said the N-word. Out of all the stuff I've said on this show, that's probably one of the ones I regret. So, you're welcome. So, go check that out. Go check Bryan's stuff out. All of his links will be in the description below. But, Bryan, we have a stacked show today. We have 3 movie reviews to do. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. It's a triple header right here on Reel Me In. I haven't done this since January with Cameron Morwood, and we did the Selma, Still Alice, and American Sniper episode. So, but before we get to the 3 reviews of Entourage, Insidious Chapter 3, and Spy, Bryan and I have some news to go over, and Bryan, if you were on the internet at all this week, every single day I was on, I swear to everything, there was like 3 to 4 trailers released every single day this week, and I was like,
I know.
I can't do all of these. So I had to pick like a list, and so even the list I sent Bryan a couple days ago, I was thinking to myself, that's a lot to talk about, but I mean, there's so much to do. So let's get into the news first. You guys know how this works. We're going to talk about the news that came out this week involving the movie industry. There was only a few stories I picked out, but I thought these were the most important ones. There's only 3 of them, so I sent Bryan the list, so Bryan knows what we're going to talk about. So Bryan, I'll go ahead and let you pick first. What would you like to talk about first?
Let's talk about James Wan first.
Interesting. So if you guys don't know who James Wan is, he is a small little Asian man. I really hope I got the National Geographic of his ancestors right, because I would feel really racist if I didn't. So anyways, James Wan, he's notorious for directing horror films, as Insidious 1, Insidious 2, The Conjuring. He did the first Saw movie, and his partner Lee Winnell, which we will get to in Insidious 3, they've been working together for a long time. So James Wan, he did a little indie movie with Vin Diesel, I Am Groot, called Fury 7. I know Bryan's shaking his head at that one. I can't do a Groot one, but I can do a Rocket Raccoon. Bryan, ask me if Insidious 3 was great.
Was Insidious 3 great?
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, that's my Rocket Raccoon right there. So, anyways, going off on the Guardians of the Galaxy. So, James Wan, he directed Fury 7, which is now, I think, the 4th highest grossing movie of all time, or the 3rd highest. It's ridiculous. Anyways, this guy, he's known to do horror. He did an action film, so what's next on the horizon for him besides The Conjuring 2 and I think Robotech? James Wan is going to direct Aquaman for Warner Brothers. Now, before you think that's ludicrous, I don't think it's that bad, because he's already done movies for Warner Brothers like The Conjuring, and I think Warner Brothers, they're the type of... What the fuck? Damn, did you guys hear that plane? That was really fucking loud. Anyways, Warner Bros. Is notorious for, like, snagging, like, filmmakers to keep them in their, kind of, catalog, if you will. Like Ben Affleck. Like, they secured that motherfucker down. It's like, you make some films for us, We'll make sure you can make the films you want to make. So they're really good at like snatching people. So James Wan directing an Aquaman movie with Jason Momoa as Aquaman. Now the only I was kind of excited because when James Wan did horror films and we heard that he was going to do Furious 7, I was really curious. It's like, how does someone go from a horror genre like that is used to making low budget movies? Like, guys, Saw was like made for like I think $1.1 million. Like it's like a fraction of what Furious 7 cost. So I was like, I wonder how he's going to do in a big budget movie. He delivers. How is he going to do in Aquaman? Bryan, I'm going to let you go first. Do you think James Wan is going to deliver a great Aquaman and not make it the joke that we like to make about Aquaman?
Well, I mean, I was very impressed with what he did with Furious 7, so I was very curious to see what he's going to do next. I mean, obviously he's going to do The Conjuring 2, which I'm looking forward to, and Robotech, which sounds pretty cool. I remember they said that he was going to do like a Bourne movie, but then that was just a rumor. With an Aquaman movie, as a director, I think he's going to do a good job. I don't know if he's going to do better than he did with like the horror movies or Furious 7, but I think he's going to do a good job as long as the script too is good. Like, it doesn't just depend on his direction, it also depends on whoever writes the script.
Yeah.
And I believe he's going to do a good job. I mean, it wasn't my first choice, but I think he is going to do a very good job directing this movie.
Right? It's like, it wasn't a choice we thought of, but when you think about it, it's like, okay, I dig it. I want to see what he can do with it. But you're right, though. It all comes down to the script. Because, guys, I hate to inform your fucking face right now, but Aquaman's kind of difficult to bring to the big screen. Am I wrong? Because, like, the guy, he runs like a underwater kingdom. What the fuck are you gonna do? You're gonna have him like walk out into the beach and like die and flop like a dead fish? Like, is that gonna be the conflict? Is that he can't have sunlight? Like, I'm curious to see like how the fuck they're gonna write this thing. But with James Wan directing it, I have a little bit more hope now. And Jason Momoa as Aquaman, I've always been behind, so this is starting to shape up to be maybe people's most anticipated thing. Like, if we see a trailer and we go, hot damn, Aquaman's not a joke anymore, that will be the day. But James Wan is directing Aquaman, should be interesting. So, the next piece of news, I'm looking at my notes, Eddie Redmayne. He is the star of Les Miserables. He was also in the Oscar-winning picture The Theory of Everything, where he won the Oscar for playing Stephen Hawking. Apparently he's going to be in the Harry Potter spinoff, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. Now, this was a rumor like a while back, Bryan. I don't know if you remember, but like he was rumored to do this for a while. But
I remember this.
It was confirmed that like he's going to be in this, and I think adding like the Oscar-winning powerhouse of a Redmayne to this franchise gives it a little bit more validity. The only thing I'm worried about, and I think you might be a little worried too, is that J.K. Rowling, the author of the books and this prequel and whatnot, she's going to be writing the screenplay for the movie. Now, my whole thing with authors going on to writing scripts, it can work, it cannot work. The best example of when it cannot work, The Counselor, directed by I think Bryan just like died. The Counselor is directed by Ridley Scott, and it's written by Cormac McCarthy, who is the author of No Country for Old Men, The Road. He's done some very fantastic books that were translated into very good movies. My favorite one being The Road. The Counselor was the biggest piece of like jumbled fucking like mess I've seen in a long time. I walked out going, because I took someone with me and it was a press screening, so all the press members hated it, by the way. We walked out and I looked down and I was like, what the fuck did we just watch? Like, do you even know what the plot was? And he said no, and I didn't know what the plot was either. So that's a bad example. A good example, Bryan, Gone Girl, Gillian Flynn, she wrote the book. I did not read the book, but that screenplay was fucking awesome. So it can work, but First of all, what do you think of Eddie Redmayne being in this prequel, which takes place, I think, 60 years before Harry Potter? What do you think about him being in this fantasy-type movie?
I think he's a perfect fit for this university. Well, this universe, excuse me. What I'm hoping is that he just doesn't do the Jupiter Ascendant thing, where he's like, "I am a wizard. Come, Harry Potter. I'm gonna."
Yeah, like he's having like he just inhaled a bunch of smoke from a fire, and he's like, just please trust me. Like, I never saw Jupiter Ascending, but I heard that like he was having an asthma attack on set, and they just filmed it.
Oh, he was. That's definitely what might have happened.
But go ahead.
And, okay, listen, people, this is a very long discussion. I could go on this discussion for, 5 hours. I still don't think he should have won the Oscar, but I still think he's a very talented actor. I think he's going to do very well in this universe. I'm sure if he does that voice again, I'm probably going to be pissed off at J.K. Rowling and whoever's directing. Is David Yates directing this movie?
I don't believe so, but if they get him back, if you guys don't know, David Yates was the guy that directed the last 4 Harry Potter films. He directed Order of the Phoenix, Half-Blood Prince, and then Deathly Hallows Part 1 and 2. That man literally carried the half of the franchise, and he was a great director of Harry Potter. He brought like that whimsical, like fun fantasy feel of it, and made it darker on each entry. So if they get David Yates back, I'm gonna be really excited for the prequel. And I'm relatively not a fan of prequels, so I would be excited. But as far as like the acting goes, on the acting front, it's looking pretty solid right now. But Bryan, what do you think about J.K. Doing the script?
I don't know exactly how I feel yet. I mean, I really don't. Like you said, it works for some authors who write screenplays based on their own books, but I don't know yet. I don't know how I feel quite yet, so who knows?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like, because I gave a great example of one that sucked asshole, and then one example that was great. So it's just kind of like what we're gonna find out when it comes out. So I think isn't the release date December 2016? I know it's next year for sure, but I think it's December. Bryan, we're doing this live, and Bryan's looking it up because I didn't write it down.
I'm looking it up. I think it is 2016. I don't think it's December because that's when the Rogue One comes out. So I think it's like November because that's when a majority of the Potter films came out. So, oh yeah, it does say David Yates will be helming the project.
Oh damn! Well, there you go, everyone.
It doesn't even exactly say the date. It says 2016.
Okay.
So that's all it says.
Well, I guess I'm really smart when it comes to my research, guys. But, I mean, you know me. I don't do research.
Oh, here we go. Found it. November 18th, 2016.
Okay, that's a pretty good date. I mean, that's usually what a Harry Potter film is like it's around that, like, kind of fall-y Thanksgiving area. So, yeah, it's good. So, Eddie Redmayne, kill it, brother. I'm ready to see it. So, the next piece of news and the final piece of news, because there really wasn't that much this week, trailers is what dominated the stuff this week. The Green Inferno. This is a film written and directed by Eli Roth, who brought us the first 2 Hostels, Cabin Fever, and basically after that, it's just kind of dump. His movie was supposed to come out last year, and I think it was supposed to come out in like October or something. But I remember, I don't know if I reported it on this podcast, but like the movie got halted. And there was no sign of it being released. It didn't have enough money for distributors. And I was like, what's going to happen to this movie? Guess who comes to the fucking rescue? My favorite producer, Jason fucking Blum. This guy, I swear to everything, he rescues movies. If he sees like a movie on the road, like if he's driving past and it's like equivalent to Roadkill and like Green Inferno is like on the side of the road, like breathing and like it's like, oh dear God, I gotta go save that animal. And he just like picks up Green Inferno and like takes it to his production house and like revives it. Like this guy, like Insidious 2, all the Paranormal Activities, shitty Ouija, pretty much every found footage movie you can think of, plus some other horror movies. Guys, I'm not joking when I say this. I think the man has 12 to 15 movies being released this year alone. What the fuck? Like, he's a money-making machine. He makes his movie for cheap, and he turns out a profit. So, him picking up Green Inferno excites me. because I am a huge fan of Eli Roth. A lot of people do not like him at all. I actually, Brian, I don't know if you feel the same way, but I actually like Hostel 2 better than 1. And I actually really like Cabin Fever. So I think he's a pretty good kind of like campy horror director that I want to see just kind of do more stuff. So the Green Inferno, basically, kids go to the woods to try to save wildlife or whatever, and then get caught up in like this tribe of cannibals. So it's like a cannibal holocaust almost. So I'm excited. It's supposed to come out in September of this year, so I'm glad that Blumhouse comes to the rescue. He's the only producer in Hollywood that will fully admit to you that he's making movies for money, and so at least he's honest about that. And then he also has his passion projects like a Whiplash, so he's just an all-around good producer because he's honest. I mean, he's there to make money, but he's also very passionate about what he does as well, so at least that's good. So, Brian, what do you think about Green Inferno being picked up by Blumhouse and being released this year?
Oh, I was so interested in this movie when it was first announced. Like, I remember seeing the trailer and I was really pumped for this movie. Then when it wasn't going to come out, I was really upset. Like, I was really hyped up for this movie. And I'm not really a diehard Eli Roth fan. I don't hate the guy. I like the guy. I think he's a good actor, and I think he's a talented director, writer. I do enjoy the first two Hostels. I mean, I think they're both the same, like, as in quality, the same. So I'm really pumped for this, and I'm glad that Blumhouse did pick it up because, I mean, like you said, he makes like 15 to like... First, I think he's made the most movies, producing-wise, of this decade. I think he's produced the most movies this decade.
Yeah,
so it's insane.
He is insane.
Yeah, it's completely insane, and I'm glad that someone picked it up, and I'm glad that it is coming out. So hopefully nothing like this happens again. I guarantee that it won't, but I'm really pumped for this movie to come out, and I'm glad that Blum picked it up. Because, yeah, he's, like, picking up every movie, and good for him. Good for him, and good for Eli Roth and all of his fans and stuff.
Yeah, I know. Like, dude, Blum is ridiculous. He's turned, like, his little production company into, like, this mega monster. Like, he's just good at what he does. And he's on record for saying, I make movies to make money. And he will literally, if it's a horror movie that's cheap, he will release it to make money. But I'll guarantee you there's some part of him that will look at what the idea is, and at least if it's intriguing, he will release it. I mean, I can't back him up in saying he's not going to just release anything because he released Ouija. So, I mean, he's released some crap, but I mean, I give him props because he's released, more hits than misses. So I'll at least give him that. So that's the news for this week, guys. It's kind of short, even though we talked about it for 17 minutes, but that's what happens when I have a cool co-host. We just talk about stuff and it carries on. So I'm gonna let Brian take over this section. Brian, there's a lot of trailers that came out. I want you to go ahead and just pick whatever one you want to start with, and we'll just kind of go down the list.
Okay, let's start with The Walk. Okay.
Interesting. Okay. So before we start any trailer, Brian, go ahead and tell people what it's kind of about before we get into it.
Okay, so The Walk is about this French high wire artist named Philippe. What did I name? I apologize.
I'm sorry. What fucking language is that?
I have no idea. Okay, so it's about him climbing across or walking across the World Trade Center because he was one of those high wire artists. They made a documentary about 5 years ago, which was directed by the guy who directed The Theory of Everything. I didn't see it, and I heard it was a great documentary. And this film is directed by Robert Zemeckis, Back to the Future, Forrest Gump, Castaway, Flight, many movies this guy's directed, and Joseph Gordon-Levitt's playing this character, and I've been so pumped for this movie. I love Zemeckis, I love Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and when this new trailer came out, because I really dug the first trailer, the teaser trailer, I was shocked when it said the movie was rated PG. PG. Yeah. This movie, PG.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, the reasons why it's PG, I mean, I can't read them. I would rather have Chase read them, but, like, it's insane. But no, the movie looks fantastic. I'm really pumped for this movie. It's definitely one of my most anticipated films for the rest of the year. I think this could maybe, and I could be wrong, maybe lead to Joseph Gordon-Levitt finally getting an Oscar nomination, because in my opinion, he deserved one for 50-50. And, yeah, I really like the idea of this, and I'm definitely going to see this movie in IMAX 3D. Like, this is a movie meant to be seen in IMAX 3D, so I'm really pumped for this movie, and I'm a little, I don't know how I feel about Gordon-Levitt doing a French accent, but
I don't
he
think
does look a lot like the guy.
I don't think
He looks a lot like
anyone.
him.
I don't think anyone cares for that accent.
Probably not.
Yeah.
But I couldn't be more excited for this movie. I love Zemeckis. I loved his last film, Flight. And, he's one of my favorite filmmakers, and one of my favorite actors is doing a movie with him, so I'm really pumped.
I mean, just at the rate that Bryan was talking can show, or you can hear the excitement. Like, it's an interesting story for sure, and I'm willing to check it out because I'm a big JGL fan. And I like Robert Zemeckis. Like, I mean, Back to the Future is one of those classics. I really like Castaway. I actually really liked Flight, which no one ever talks about. I saw it with my brother, and we were the only ones in the theaters. So, Taylor, if you're listening to this podcast, listen. I remember when we walked in there, and I was like, I'm excited. I'm excited to watch this because I love Robert Zemeckis, and I love Denzel Washington. So I'm like, I was excited to see something, and I was really blown away about how it was just a simple story about alcoholism. So the walk looks interesting. I didn't see the documentary, but I'm excited to see what this movie kind of does as far as like really honing in on his character and how why he's doing this and just the thrills that he gets throughout his life and stuff. You're right. The accent's awful. It sounds like he's doing a Pepe Le Pew, like, meets, like, some weird French creeper at a bagel shop or something. It's really fucking awkward, and I like JGL, but I don't think he's going to be nominated for this, because he's got another movie coming out where he's playing Edward Snowden in the Oliver Stone pick, and I think that would probably be his best bet at getting a nomination. But as far as, like, seeing this in IMAX, Brian's right. This thing on scope alone is pretty damn impressive, so it's going to be really nice to see in IMAX. It's going to be one of those kind of feel-good movies, but we have to bring up what Bryan said. It's rated PG. Now, I understand that Robert Zemeckis is known for making PG movies. Back to the Future was PG, even though it borderlines on PG-13 in some parts. It's it's very interesting. One of the I'm not going to go through the whole description, but one of the descriptions is some nudity. Now, Now, me and my perverted mind, I'm just assuming that when he first walks across the rope, he's just like butt-ass naked, and people are just like, why is this naked man walking across this wire? And he's like, I want to be free and have my penis flail in the wind. I don't know. It's going to be like some weird thing, but no, I have no idea why there's nudity, but it is kind of interesting to see a PG movie because, Bryan, when was the last, like, not family-oriented, but like kind of a more mature PG movie? I don't recall the last time I saw one.
I think the last one that I recall, I mean, Walter Mitty may be considered mature, but that's not really mature. Good Night and Good Luck was rated PG, and that wasn't exactly a movie for families.
Yeah, I mean, that's... I honestly can't tell you what was the last like mature PG movie, but maybe this will be it. So I am curious to see what the some nudity is. Now, every time when I start this podcast, I should always tell my guests that are on Skype with me, and Brian's like watching this right now, is that there's going to be some male brief rear nudity. So I mean, there's always like some nudity on the show. You just guys don't ever see it because it's just pure audio, but Brian's eyes will be scarred later. So that's the first trailer. So Bryan, go and take it away. What do you want to talk about next?
Bridge of Spies.
Spies.
Listen carefully, people. There's nothing you need to know about this movie. It's Tom Hanks and Spielberg
working
together.
Whoa. Bryan, are you saying that people should just walk in blind in this movie?
I'm giving them what they should know. I'm telling them that they should know that Spielberg and Tom Hanks are working together for the fourth time. The first time they're working together in the film since The Terminal, which came out 11 years ago. I've been following this movie ever since it was announced. When Spielberg announced that he was going to direct it, I'm like, all right, cool, whatever. I love Spielberg, but whatever. Then when it was announced that Tom Hanks was going to do it, I'm like, all right, you have me hooked? All right. And then it was announced that the Coen brothers are going to be writing this script. I'm sold. The trailer was perfect in my opinion. It was a really good trailer. It was a really good, intense trailer. This is probably going to be a movie where it gets a lot of Oscar nominations. It's great that Spielberg is now directing the movie again, because the last film he directed was Lincoln, and that felt so long ago. Even though it came out in 2012, it just feels like such a long time ago. it's great that he's directing another movie again. I would love it if he would go and do a movie that isn't like a political war, true story type movie. I know he's directing the BFG, which is like one of my favorite books when I was a kid, so that's cool and everything. But yeah, the trailer was really cool. Alan Alda's in it, Amy Ryan, and like so it has a really solid cast. The only thing that I'm a little sad about is that John Williams is not composing this movie. And that's really sad because they've done every movie together. Every movie that Spielberg has directed, John Williams composed. The only film that John Williams didn't compose that Steven Spielberg directed was The Color Purple, and that was 30 years ago, exactly 30 years ago. So I'm curious to see what Thomas Newman's going to do with this movie because he scored, the only thing I can think of, I think he composed Skyfall. So, I mean, very good score. But, like, yeah, I'm curious to see what he does, and the movie does look very good, and I'm really excited for it. So, yeah, and I believe it comes out the week or 2 weeks after The Walk, so that's pretty cool.
Interesting. I mean, like, Brian's right. If you're a film lover, I only need to say three things to you. Tom Hanks is in it, directed by Steven Spielberg, written by the Coen brothers. Now, listen, if you're any type of a film aficionado like we are, those three things right there should be like, okay, done. I don't even need to hear it anymore. I'm good to go. Yeah, it looks really cool. It looks like a really cool kind of Cold War movie. Like, when was I don't even remember the last Cold War movie that we had.
Neither do I.
Like, listen, I like war movies, but I will fall into that camp where, like, World War II is my favorite, even though we should explore more wars. But World War II is definitely my favorite. And I've always said that my favorite Spielberg movie is Schindler's List. It, hands down. Nothing even comes close to that. So I am really excited to see Spielberg tackle another war movie. I mean, it looks pretty good for the most part. I'm not really too excited for it, even though I really love the filmmakers and stuff involved. But I am curious about it. So maybe when I start hearing more stuff about it, I'll be more impressed. But it looks gorgeous. It looks like it's going to be a nice, just political thriller done by the Spielberg Meister. So I'm looking forward to it. So this sounds great. So, Brian, what's the next trailer?
Z for Zachariah.
Okay. So
Go ahead.
Okay. Okay, so the plot is Margot Robbie is the only person on Earth, and you come across her, and you're gonna bone her. Guys, I gotta go change my underwear. I really feel envious of the other actors. So, anyways, the plot is simple. Margot Robbie, last person on Earth from Apocalypse. She meets Chiwetel Ejiofor. They bone in a barn somewhere, and then they come across bluey-eyed Chris Pine. Love triangle. That's it. So, Brian, what are your thoughts on it?
Okay, so I remember when this film was announced, like when they announced all the films that was going to premiere at Sundance early this year, and I mean, yeah, the plot is just very blech, but I love these actors. I mean, I told you this like not too long ago. I think Margot Robbie is oh my god, she's such a talented actress, but she's so freaking gorgeous. Holy shit.
Brian just took his shirt off and played with his nipples as he said that. I just want to let you know that.
Wow.
He ran to his freezer real quick and got some ice cubes and like just twiddled them on his nipples as he said that.
Oh my god. Wow. Okay.
The things that are said on this show I could probably go to jail for. All right, Brian, sorry. Go ahead and continue.
Okay. Like I said, Margot, she's so talented, and I'm curious to see what she does. I mean, like this and Suicide Squad, I'm really curious to see what she does. I love Chiwetel Ejiofor. I think he's a fantastic actor. He was very underrated before 12 Years a Slave, and he's definitely one of the best actors working today, one of the best new actors, I guess you could say, working today. And, I mean, Chris Pine, say what you want about him, but that man is freaking gorgeous. Like, he is a beautiful-looking man, okay? Listen, if I was gay, I would love to be with him. I'm just saying that right now.
You know what? I'm going to say this on air, too, and there's a lot of you that are listening. I'm straight as an arrow, but if I were to turn gay, and listen, and if I were to come across Chris Pine as the last person in the apocalypse, I wouldn't fucking mind. I'm just saying. So, but yeah, you're right. Like, it kind of sucks for Chiwetel Ejiofor's character because, like, in the trailer, he gets to bone Margot Robbie with, what, props to you, sir. And then, like, they come across bluey-eyed Chris Pine, you get lost in those eyes. I swear to God, he's gonna hypnotize you and like just staring at you. So like he comes along, you're fucked. I'm sorry, but if you're boning Margot Robbie and Chris Pine comes along, you might as well just go make love to a tree because that's the only love making you're gonna get. So it looks cool though. But on a serious note, it looks cool, Brian. Like I really like the fact that this global event happened to the population on Earth, yet we're going to focus intimately on 3 characters, and that's it. That's pretty impressive. Now, people that have seen this movie were at Sundance, and she's never going to listen to this because she'll probably find me creepy, but, you know, Alicia Malone, she's an internet personality. She saw it, and she literally said that there's only 3 people in the cast list, those 3 that we mentioned. So it really is like an intimate story of this love triangle, which is really odd because it's like you have all these things to worry about, like, I don't know, fucking starvation or just surviving, yet the most important thing is a love triangle. I kind of like that. So Z for Zachariah, I'm pumped, man. I can't wait to see it. I love little indie films like that, so let's fucking do it, man. So Brian, next one.
Everest.
Oh, my boy,
okay.
Jake Gyllenhaal. God, I just love everything he's in.
I know, same here. He's gonna have a great year this year.
Oh yeah, for
hopefully.
Sure.
Okay, so Everest, I think it looks good, not great. I'm a little worried because of the director. Now, the director directed 2 films starring your boy Marky Mark.
Hey, how's it going over there?
Contraband and 2 Guns.
Hey, did you guys know I was in Contraband? No one fucking saw that. Did you guys know I was in 2 Guns with Denzel Washington? He's pretty cool, man. It was like, you know, they should have called it Black and White because I'm a white guy. And that's why Marky Mark will never do stand-up. All right, anyways, go ahead.
Okay, I love the cast in this movie, like Gyllenhaal, Jason Clarke, Josh Brolin, Keira Knightley, John Hawkes, Robin Wright. Like, the cast in this movie is just out of this world great.
Yeah.
And the story is very fascinating. I did some research, so I kind of know what happens. Because every time there's these biographical films, I want to have an idea of what's going to happen. Like, I did that with Foxcatcher. Mm-hmm. Some people didn't know what was going to happen in Foxcatcher. I knew exactly what was going to happen, and I was still on the edge of my seat when I saw that movie.
Yeah.
But I think the movie looks good. Not great. I feel like there might need to be one more trailer that convinces me, but I don't see myself disliking the movie. At least that's what I'm hoping. But I think the movie, as of right now, looks very, very good.
Yeah, no, you know what's really interesting is, are they going to go add any more fucking J actors in this movie? Josh Brolin, Jason Clarke, Jake Gyllenhaal, John Hawkes. Like, Jesus Christ, they added all the great J's of Hollywood. So, but no, it looks good. It's going to look like it's going to be one of those, like, really cool biographical films that's going to be kind of tampered with since it's in Hollywood and stuff. But I think with the story behind it and how it's just going to focus on human survival and all that stuff, and we have all these strong actors in it, that makes me super pumped. And the fact that Robin Wright's in it, I have a huge crush on her. I love her in House of Cards. I'm glad that she's finally doing more stuff outside of that show since the success of the show. So I'm looking forward to it, man. I think if it's good, Brian, tell me if you agree. Like, I think it would be a really strong Oscar contender if it's really good.
Oh, absolutely. I think it will be. I mean, yeah, it's coming out in September, so I don't know about that, but it could be. I'm
going to call it right now. If it's good, Jake Gyllenhaal will be nominated for Best Actor in Southpaw, and he will be nominated for Best Supporting Actor in Everest.
Probably. That would be really cool, because the last time that happened was with Jamie Foxx for Ray and Collateral. So, like, yeah, that's going to be very interesting. And I just looked this up. The people who were writing the script, one of them is the person who wrote the Oscar-winning script for Slumdog Millionaire, and the other writer is the Oscar-nominated writer for Gladiator.
Interesting.
So that's good. That's good. Now I'm satisfied. So now I have nothing to worry about. Hopefully,
I think it would be pretty good. Unless we start hearing bad stuff and then we see it and it's not that good or whatever. It's kind of underwhelming. But we'll have to see. It's one of those Oscar season movies. So we'll just have to see. Brian, what is next on the trailer list?
Suffrage. Or Suffragette? I don't know.
I think it's Suffragate.
Suffragate. Okay. I just before I get into this, I believe the film stars. Don't tell me. I want to figure this out myself. I know one of them's Carey Mulligan. Love her. Love her.
Come
like,
on,
everything she
come
did.
on! It's your favorite person to do your.
I know. I wanted to save that for last.
Oh, come on!
I want to save that for last.
All right, Bryan.
It's more impactful when you save it for last. Okay, Helena Bonham Carter.
Okay.
Ben Winshaw, Brendan Gleeson, and the one and only Miss Meryl Streep. Okay, listen. I don't know how this film's going to turn out. This isn't really my cup of tea. I'm not really someone that focuses on women political movies, if you really consider this a political type movie, but I love the cast in this movie. I love Carey Mulligan. I love that woman. She's currently in NYC, aka New York City, on a Broadway play. I would love to meet her, but I don't know how long the play's going to go on for. Listen, Meryl Streep's probably going to get nominated for this movie. If this movie sucks, she'll probably get nominated for it still, no matter what. So, I mean, the movie looks good mainly for the performances, but it doesn't look like a film that I will rush out to see. It kind of reminds me a bit of that film that came out earlier this year with Helen Mirren, The Woman in Gold, which I didn't see. I heard it wasn't great.
Okay.
That didn't really look like my kind of film anyway, so, yeah, I mean, if you love these kind of political type movies, especially centering around women, then you'll probably be excited for this movie. As of right now, I'm like, the movie looks good. It's nothing that I'm going to rush out to see. Yeah. But if I hear great things, then I will definitely rush out to see it.
It looks like it's going to have really, really strong performances. Like, that was an emotional trailer. And it kind of made me furious because we as humans, we still let this go on. We still let, women suffer and shit. And it's like, I just fucking hate humanity sometimes. And like, when you watch the trailer, it's like, that happens. And it happens now still. Like, it's 2015. Stop doing that. Like, seriously, fucking stop treating women like shit, you rich white male assholes. Like, dear Lord. Like, it just, as I was watching the trailer, I was like, this is a good story. It's relevant because it ties in with the whole, like, stuff that's going on with cops right now and race and stuff, and it still applies to it. Like, just humanity fucking disgusts me sometimes. Listen, we're all human beings. There's some fucking terrible people out there. I just gotta say that. But no, the trailer looks cool. It looks really powerful in the acting, and it looks like something that could be really relevant to today and maybe bring awareness to this issue. I don't know why it's a fucking issue still. So it looks pretty good. So I'm all down for it. It looks like it could be a really cool kind of indie surprise. So I'm looking forward to it. So Bryan, what is next on the list, sir?
The next one, Macbeth. Now, before I get into my thoughts of this movie,
God,
I just want to say something right now. There was this kid in my film school who went to the Cannes Film Festival. No joke, I'm not making this up at all. He went to the Cannes Film Festival because his parents know someone that made a film there. I didn't ask him who, but they know someone, and oh my god, I was so freaking jealous. I asked him because he came back last week. I asked him what films he saw. This was one of the films he saw, and he adored it. He was in love with this movie. He couldn't stop praising the living crap out of this movie. This was I think he said this was his second favorite film at Cannes.
Well,
second favorite.
I mean, if you guys are frequent listeners, the podcast I had with Eli last week talking about how he went to Cannes and stuff, he saw it and he really liked it. His quotes were, "It's beautifully shot," and he said the last 20 minutes made his mouth drop. And I was like,
exactly what my friend said. That's
exactly
what he said.
I was like, fuck, that makes me so excited. Listen, before Bryan continues, like, I'm not like a huge fan of Shakespeare films. I don't know how you feel about them, but I'm not like
I'm not a fan of them either.
Yeah, I'm not like the biggest fan of them. But this trailer won me over, and I'll tell you why. Bryan, go ahead and continue on why you liked it.
Okay, I'm really excited for it, mainly for Michael Fassbender and Marion Cotillard. I love those two. I love those two so much. And, I mean, the director has my curiosity because ever since he was announced to direct the upcoming Assassin's Creed movie, I'm like, okay, I want to see what he's going to do. And after seeing this trailer, I am so pumped to see whatever this guy does next. And I'm so pumped to see this movie. I just hope that I guarantee that's going to be in my top 10, maybe even top 15. I know that I'm really going to dig this movie so much because I love films with strong performances. And if this Shakespeare movie is great, I will be so freaking happy because everyone I know that's seen it says they really either liked it or loved it. I haven't heard one review that says, "Oh yeah, I hated this movie so much." Every review has been positive, and I'm really pumped to see this movie. Like, I couldn't be more proud. The cinematography is so freaking gorgeous. I mean, it's so dark and bleak. Like, it has a very dark vibe to it. I'm sure it's going to be much better than Roman Polanski's Macbeth, which I hate to death. I hate that movie. It bores the living shit out of me. I read Macbeth last year in English, and I don't even remember it that much, to be quite honest, because I wasn't really into it. I'm not really a big Shakespeare guy.
Yeah.
So, but I guarantee that I'm going to really, really dig this movie.
I think...
know that I'm really going to dig it.
I got to be honest with you guys. Like, I think Kenneth Branagh, like the acclaimed director that has made so many Shakespeare movies, he should be fucking worried right now because this film looks great. Like, beyond great. The only two reasons I am so curious about it is because of Fassbender and Cotillard. They're probably two of the best actor and actress, like, in Hollywood right now. If you guys have not seen anything from Marion Cotillard, what are you doing? She's a double threat. She's great to look at, and she's a fantastic actress. Fassbender, he's a good-looking dude as well, and he can also deliver on his performances. When I walked out of 12 Years a Slave, I wanted to punch Fassbender in the fucking face because his character was that despicable. That's how fucking good he is. The one that Marion Cotillard got nominated for at the Oscars for last year's films, 2 Days, One Night, I really liked that. It was a very simple movie, but she fucking delivered. Listen, these two actors going head-to-head like this, it kind of makes me just, excitement as a film fan. And as a filmmaker, the cinematography looks so rich and so detailed and so just 3 dimensions. It looks so just gorgeous to look at. Like, you could probably put it on silent and you could probably understand what's going on. That's how good it looks. So, this film, I don't even know anymore. It's like, it spiked up my anticipation so much, it's ridiculous. Because as soon as Eli told me last week and what your friends told you, it's like, I had no idea it was going to be like that. I'm super excited now. So, Macbeth, Fassbender, Cotillard, go check it out if you haven't seen that trailer. As a film fan, you will be pretty pleased. So,
absolutely. I agree with you on that 100%.
Oh, yeah. So, Bryan, what's next on the list, sir?
99 Homes.
Oh.
Michael Shannon, Andrew Garfield, and Laura Dern. Bam. Perfect cast right there.
Before I get this started, I don't know if Bryan knows this, but ladies and gentlemen, even though I signed something, I can't review it, but I've already seen this movie. I saw it 4 months ago.
Ah, shit. Oh.
I saw this movie in February at a test screening. And let me tell, I can't review it, but I'm going to tell Bryan this right now. I'm going to see what his face looks like. It has been, and still is to this day, been in my top 10 of the year so far.
Whoa.
Yeah. Ever since I saw it in February, I put it on my list. It has not budged. It's been in that top 10 somewhere, but that's all I can say. I can't review it. So when that time comes, when it comes out in September, I will have my full review on it. But yeah, I saw this movie 4 months ago. And like I said, I can't review it, but it's in my top 10. And what I can say about it is, oh, yeah. It's a good fucking movie. That's all I'm going to say. But Bryan, as a person that hasn't seen it, what did you think of the trailer, and are you excited for it now?
Oh, I am pumped for this movie. This movie looks great. I mean, not as good as Macbeth, but this movie looks intense. I mean, first of all, seeing Andrew Garfield as the father 1 year after Spider-Man, that's just insane, and it's so weird, and it's weird knowing that that guy's like 32, so it's a little strange for me. I love Andrew Garfield. I loved him ever since I saw him in The Social Network. I mean, he should have been nominated for an Oscar for that movie. Hell, he should have won. I mean, honestly, I love Christian Bale in The Fighter, but Andrew Garfield in The Social Network, I mean, the scene where he grabs the computer and slams it on the ground and yells, oh my god, that scene still remains as one of my favorite scenes of this decade, from any film of this decade. Like, it's so freaking good. I love Michael Shannon. I love him, like, in everything he's in. I even liked him as General Zod, personally. Like, I thought he did a good job as General Zod. I loved him ever since I saw Revolutionary Road. I love that fucking performance. I have not watched Boardwalk Empire. I hear he's great on that show, and I'm sure he is because he's a great actor. I've loved him in pretty much everything that he's in, and I'm really pumped to see what. And I loved him in Take Shelter. I love that fucking film. That film was so underrated. I love him in that movie, and I'm really excited to see what he does in Jeff Nichols' next movie, Midnight Special. I believe that's what it's called. But he looks so good in this movie. I could definitely see him getting some award nomination for this movie. Maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong, but I could definitely see him getting some kind of award nomination, whatever. And Laura Dern too. I mean, after seeing Wild, like, she's been on fire. Last year, she had a great year last year. The Fault in Our Stars and Wild, I mean, 2 great movies in 1 year. She's going to knock this movie out of the park. They're all going to knock this movie out of the park, and I really like the story. I think the story is very fascinating, how Michael Shannon has to evict people from their homes, and then Andrew Garfield has to do the same thing. Like, it's very cool. It's a very fascinating story. And, I mean, like you said, like, the fact that it's in your top 10 makes me more excited. So, yeah, I'm really excited. But for you, someone who has seen the movie,
okay.
It's shown it in the trailer.
So I want Bryan to do this, but just know that I'm not going to review anything. But, Bryan, you're able to ask me any question you want about this movie or the trailer, and I will answer as vaguely as possible.
Okay, how do you think the trailer did marketing the movie? Like, how do you think do you think its marketing is very good?
Yeah, no, that was a perfect trailer for this type of movie.
All right, now you could just give your thoughts on, like, the trailer. Pretend like you're someone who hasn't seen the movie, like, just...
Okay, listen, the trailer is really good. Like, it's very suspenseful, and it's a very simple story. That's really, it's another relevant movie. Like, it kind of hones on the fact of real estate and how people are evicted from their homes, like, now and stuff because they don't have enough money, and it's like, it's pretty sad. And the trailer really delivers that as someone, as Garfield, as someone who loses his house, and he gets into the business of actually evicting people, and it's really kind of emotional. And I can tell you right now, as a person that's seen it, this is a good representation of the movie, and you should be excited because, like Bryan said, I've said this for years, and I'll say it again, Michael Shannon is the fucking man. Like, he really is. And when I was at the test screening, Bryan, you're going to be fucking shocked, because they asked us questions, and I said 2 things about the movie. 3 things. I said all 3 of the actors were great. The second thing was, I didn't really believe Andrew Garfield as a parent just because he's so baby-faced. That's not a problem, though. That doesn't take away how great the movie was. And the number one thing I said, because I told the guy that was asking us questions, I said, Michael Shannon was the best thing about this movie, and he's the best thing about any movie he's ever in. And everyone looked at me and was like, who's Michael Shannon? And I was like, are you guys joking? Like, no one in my audience, or the people that asked questions, they said, who was Michael Shannon again? And I was like, the fucking villain of the movie? And they're just like, oh yeah, he was pretty good. I was like, no, this guy's fucking great in everything he's in. Like, people were not losing their minds over Shannon. They were talking about Garfield. Respectfully so. He's Spider-Man, or he was. But, like, Shannon, Michael fucking Shannon, ladies and gentlemen, go watch his fucking movies. The guy is amazing at everything he does. So, yeah, that kind of astounded me that people didn't have any idea who fucking Shannon was. But, yeah, that's the number one thing I put in my card. I was like, Michael Shannon was fucking beast. So, I hope they took my notes into consideration. So, yeah, it looks great. I really can't wait for you to watch it and tell me what you think of it. So, Bryan, what is the last and final trailer of the week?
I wanted to save this for last because it's a very anticipated film for me, and that's The Good Dinosaur, Pixar's next movie. And the Pixar releasing 2 movies in 1 year. That's great. Greatest thing ever. The trailer is beautifully animated as expected from Pixar, even their crappy films like Cars 2, and Brave. In my opinion, Brave isn't that great of a movie personally. It's okay, but it's very overrated. Beautifully animated. This trailer is so damn gorgeous. Oh my god, it's beautiful. I wasn't compelled by the trailer like I wish I was, but I still really dug the trailer, and I'm very curious to see what happens when the full trailer comes out, when the first full trailer comes out. But I'm very curious about this movie, and I mean, there was a lot of problems revolving around this movie with the director being changed and all that other stuff, so I'm curious to see what happens when this movie comes out, and yeah, that's it.
I mean, Bryan's right. 2 Pixar movies in 1 year is almost like 2 Christmases. It's fantastic. Like, and the reason why they're doing this for people that don't really know their schedule is, like, they didn't have a movie out last year. Their last movie was Monsters University in 2013. That's why they're doubling up this year. I like the trailer, but the one thing that has bothered me, and has bothered every single person I've talked to about it, is the animation. It looks weird. it looks very gummy. Like they look like a candy almost. Like the dinosaurs don't look that good. I'm gonna be honest with you. I like the first half of the trailer because it's very suspenseful. It's in space. Another meteor hits another one, knocks it out of a belt, and it's heading towards Earth. And the text is going like something that happened millions of years ago. What if the comet passed Earth and the dinosaurs survived? That's a great premise. But then the second half trailer of it started, and it's just a bunch of clips of the movie, and the dinosaurs look awful. Now listen, Brian's right. This is just a teaser. It is not even a minute and a half long. What you need to realize is when they release a full trailer, we'll get a more sense of the story and like where they're going to take this movie. Because you can go in any direction with this movie. But the thing is, it doesn't look like a Pixar movie. It looks like something 20th Century Fox's B Studio made, like with $10. It doesn't look like Pixar quality in terms of the animation. But as far as the story goes, creative-wise, it's there. And I'm looking forward to it. But I gotta go Inside Out over this one.
Yeah, same.
Because Inside Out, I have said this for months. I even told Bryan this. It looks like it will be the best thing Pixar has made. And I'm talking over Toy Story. That's right. It looks that good. And from what I've been hearing, because when Eli was on the podcast last week, he didn't see it, but he heard people that saw it at Cannes. He said that like people were raving about this fucking movie. So I'm really looking forward to Inside Out. But The Good Dinosaur, I'll look forward to when I see a trailer, like Bryan said. But as far as right now, the animation kind of bothers me. But maybe it's not fully rendered. I don't know. Because it doesn't come out for another, like, 5 months. So
it doesn't come out until November.
Yeah,
so.
I have no fucking clue. So that's it, guys, for the trailers this week. I know it went on a little long. 50 minutes to talk about news and trailers. But, guys, there was a lot to talk about. And like I said, when I have a guest on, it's nice to hear their opinions and stuff. I highly doubt you guys want to hear me talk for an hour straight, because I know that'll make your ears bleed and you have to go cry to your mom or whatever, and then you'll go to the doctor the next day and they'll stick a fucking cotton ball down there. So I understand that. So for the next 30 minutes to an hour, or however fucking long we talk about them, we're going to do 3 movie reviews. Now, Bryan, before we start the movie reviews, tell the audience out there which ones you have seen out of the 3, if you have seen all 3 of them.
I have only seen Entourage and Spy.
Okay, so Bryan has only seen those 2, and I've seen all 3 of them, so I will be the only one defending Insidious 3 because Bryan is such a huge fan of those movies. He really is, and he just flipped me off. He'll actually explain why he's not a huge fan of them. Not a problem. Film is subjective. I really love the Insidious franchise. Bryan's not a fan of them, but I want to hear his side, and I'll give him my side. So, but first, let's talk about one of the ones Bryan has seen. So, Bryan, as the guest, what do you want to talk about first? And I think I know your answer. Okay,
man.
So Bryan wants to do Entourage first because the reason why I asked Bryan to come on this week is because it's not because I caught him renting a SpongeBob movie at a local video store and I blackmailed him. It's because he's a huge fan of the Entourage TV show, and I have not seen an episode. So we're getting the point of view from someone who has seen the show and has followed it and is a huge fan. And you're going to have a review from me, a person that never saw the show, and I'm going face value of what I saw on screen. So, Bryan, I want you guys to comment below and tell me if this is a great way to kind of get reviews out of me and the guests. Is like if I ask questions about it and stuff before we get into the review, it kind of makes it a little bit more intriguing. So let me know if that's a good idea. So, Bryan, as a fan of the TV show, I'm just going to give you some rapid-fire questions before you get into review. So as a fan, did it live up to the hype?
Yes.
Okay. Did it have the same tone as the TV show?
Pretty much.
Okay. Was the continuity all there? Like, did everything carry over from the show pretty well? Was
pretty well.
Okay.
I mean, there were some things that didn't carry over pretty well, but most of the stuff was carried over pretty well.
Okay, so I mean that's some pretty good stuff. So, Bryan, take it away. Give us your review of Entourage. What did you like about it?
Okay, what I liked about it, I just loved seeing these characters again on screen because I binge watched the entire show with my dad. We finished in 2 months. And it was great seeing all these characters. I mean, Vince, E, Turtle, Drama, and Ari Gold, and all the other supporting characters. Great seeing them again on screen. I love the majority of the comedy. Some of it didn't work. I really, really liked the story a lot. I love how Vince says that his next movie is something that he asked to direct. He says, "Oh, the next movie I do, I have to direct." And then I like how it jumps forward in time, and like basically the whole movie's about the whole financial trouble with the movie. I mean, yeah, there were some subplots in the movie and everything, but I love seeing all the characters. I mean, all the actors from I consider roles. I mean, of course, my favorite thing about this movie and my favorite thing about the show was Jeremy Piven as Ari Gold. Holy shit. Guys, listen. For those who have watched the show, you have to agree that Ari was the best character on the show. And his Jeremy Piven's performance, he won 3 consecutive Emmys for the show. 3 consecutive Emmys. That's saying something. And the thing is, I don't like how the critics are bashing this movie. I hate why this movie's getting a lower rating than the Sex and the City movie, which, by the way, the Sex and the City movie is 2.5 hours long. So, and this movie's only an hour and like 40 minutes, so it's much shorter than that Sex and the City movie. Like, okay, but I was very satisfied with the movie, and I enjoyed a majority of the movie. There were some things I didn't like, but you could ask me that now, what I didn't like about the movie.
Well, first, let me get into my positives, because I want to tell this story, because I think the listeners will like it. Bryan loves the story, because I got him pretty good. So, after I saw the movie on Tuesday night or whatever, because I was talking to Bryan throughout the entire time, because I wanted him on the show. He's a huge fan of Entourage, so I told him, I was like, hey, man, I'm seeing the movie tonight. I get out of the movie, and I messaged him, and I was like, dude, I fucking hated the movie. I really did. And he was like, are you serious? I was like, of course. And I carried on for about 2 hours, and then I realized that I'm actually a face on the internet, and people know me, and Bryan has, like, he subscribed to me, he subscribed to the channel I do videos for, so he watched my review, and he knew I was lying. I wanted to see how long I could take it, and I was actually going to see if I could carry on to the show, but obviously, like I said, I have so much stuff on the internet, like, Bryan was going to find out regardless, but I told him I really fucking hated it, and he was like, man, I'm really disappointed in you, and like, it almost seemed like one of those situations where he was going to walk away from being my friend. He was like, hey, man, I respect your decision, but I got to walk. So, but yeah, I carried it on for about a couple hours before he found out. But as a fan, Bryan, go on and ask me some questions as a person that never even seen the show.
Okay, so as someone who hasn't seen the show, what did you personally think of the movie? Like, what did you like? Well, personally, what was your favorite thing about the movie?
I'm not going to lie, I have a kind of a hard-on for movies that kind of glamorize Hollywood and have like that over-the-top style of fantasy, because yes, in some respects LA is like that, but for the most part it's like a male fantasy of Hollywood. I kind of enjoy it because I was like sucked into that world right as the movie started, so I really enjoyed that aspect.
Alright, like, who's your favorite performance? Like,
oh, it's Jeremy Piven. Like, as Ari Gold, as a agent turned studio head, that guy's amazing. Like, I was convinced the whole time. I wasn't even seeing Jeremy Piven. I was seeing Ari Gold. And that's like the biggest compliment you can give any actor, is when they sink into the role like that. He killed it. And as a person that's never seen the show, I kind of want to see it now. I really like I like all 4 of the guys. Adrian Greniers, it's Vince, right? Yeah, Vincent Chase. He's great. I like Kevin Dillon. I've always been a fan of the Dillon.
I love Kevin Dillon.
I know. I've always been a fan of the Dillon brothers. I love Matt Dillon as well. And so seeing Kevin Dillon for the very first time, I've never seen the show, so it's like I've never been exposed to Matt's brother. He sounds just like Matt, and like he kills it as Johnny Drama. Like, Drama is actually my favorite character besides Ari Gold, like, because he had a lot more.
Yeah, same.
He had a lot more depth to him than I was expecting. I was like, you know what? People in Hollywood are exactly like that. So, I like Jerry Ferrara as Turtle. I like Kevin Connolly as Eve. I mean, whatever. Like, he's
what
there.
he does in this movie is just insane. Like,
yeah, he's
insane in this movie.
It's whatever. But as far as like my favorites go, Jeremy Piven as Ari Gold killed it, and then I get them mixed up. Kevin Dillon as Drama, by far my favorite, just because. I'll guarantee you most actors in Hollywood are exactly like how he is, where they beat themselves up all the time, they drink a lot, and then when they get a role, finally, then they're all excited, and then they'll go down again. It's like, it's guys, it's the life of a filmmaker, or a critic. Like, we always think we're doing shitty, and then like something good will happen, like, oh, cool, and then like something shitty will happen again. That's how I live my life, and that's probably why I get stressed all the time. So, yeah, I like the movie. I think it's fine for what it is, but I didn't really like. It's not my favorite out of the three this week for sure. I was actually really surprised that it wasn't as funny as people make it out to be. Like, don't get me wrong, I smiled throughout the whole movie, and there was a couple of jokes that kind of hit me hard. I was like, that was pretty good. That was really funny. But it wasn't like this ha 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 type of movie. It was kind of like a situational comedy movie where it's like the situations that they got in were funny, and like the deeper in the hole that they got, that was funny and stuff. But I just didn't find it like super funny. But I don't know, Brian, I don't know, am I seeing something differently? Like, did you find it as ha ha funny as you did the show?
Well, I mean, I didn't love the movie like I wanted to. I really liked it a lot, but like I think that it. Well, I mean, it's surprising that for you, someone who hasn't watched the show, didn't hate the movie, because a majority of the critics who've seen the movie hated it because, one, they probably didn't even watch the show, and there's one critic, and I told you this, and I said this in my review of Entourage. I said, there's a critic that said, "Oh, I don't like the movie, so I don't like the show, so I don't like the movie. So why would you see the movie if you didn't like the show?" And yeah, you said it's because they make some cha-ching.
Yep.
So, but it's like ridiculous. So like, it's not everybody's cup of tea. I will admit that. But like, if you're someone that loves kind of comedies like this, then it's your kind of comedy. I think maybe if you watched the show, maybe you would have liked the movie a lot more than you did. But I think for someone who hasn't seen the show, it's surprising that you did not hate it. So that's a good thing.
Well, I told you when I got out of the movie, the humor was not my favorite part. The glamorization of Hollywood was not my favorite part. It was just hanging out with these guys. It was just
that's my favorite. That was my favorite thing about the show.
No, so. I loved hanging out with these guys, and I'm actually wanting to watch the show because of these four actors. Listen, are they the greatest actors in the world? No, because they haven't really done much after the show. But their camaraderie and their chemistry on the in the movie, as what I saw, was great. And when they interacted with Ari Gold was great. So like, I would want to see the show on those regards alone. Not the funniest movie I've ever seen. It's definitely... I even told Bryan, and I said this in my review, this is a movie about nothing. It is basically the Seinfeld of movies. And what do I mean by that? These problems that they have in the movie are rich white people problems. It's about getting a movie made. And all their subplots and stuff, it's just life. It's just life stuff thrown in there. And like, it's not anything that's really at stake or anything. It's just kind of... It's a movie about nothing, and then it kind of wraps up and kind of ends really fast, and it's kind of one of my quips about it. But yeah, I just enjoyed hanging out with these guys. That's probably the biggest positive I can give this movie. So, Bryan, as far as the negatives go, what were some of the things you kind of didn't really care for?
Well, there were some jokes that didn't work for me. The cameos felt a little overbloated at times. Some of the cameos I really liked. Some of them I didn't personally. Some of them were from the show, which was great. The Ian Sloan thing. Now listen, the show, I'm a little mixed of how it was on the show. I mean, first of all, I don't really care about it that much, to be quite honest. At first I did, but then when it kept on going on, I was like, ugh. I don't know. I mean, she's really hot and everything. She's gorgeous and sexy and everything. And she hasn't aged, because she first appeared on season 2 of the show. And she hasn't aged one bit. Like, she still looks gorgeous. And the second season was 10 years ago. So, like, she hasn't aged in 10 years. I mean, that's just...
that's Hollywood for you.
I mean, it's amazing. I mean, even when she's preggo, she is gorgeous. Like, she is stunning when she's preggo. It's insane.
Yeah, she's so hot that you want to, like, impregnate her while she's pregnant.
Exactly.
So... Can you at least agree with me that some of the subplots were just kind of whatever? Like, I didn't really care for most of the subplots. Like, even the main plot, which was getting the movie made, was kind of like like, it's not like I said, it's not like the biggest problem in the world. Like, these are rich white people problems.
Exactly, and this movie's not even focused on the plot. It's just really focused on hanging out with these characters again. Like, the plot's not the main focus. You don't go to this movie just for the plot. You go to hang out with these characters. That's really it, and have a good time.
Which is probably a downfall into why some of the critics did not like it, because it's basically a fan service movie. When I got to the theater, I was the only one there for like the longest time, and then I got packed with people. But one of the guys that came in, he was a bro. He was a straight up bro, and like, he came up to me, he was like, "Yo, man, I'm gonna sit next to you. I feel like we're brothers." And like, I told him, I was like, dude, I've never seen an episode of the show, and he's like, dude, Entourage is my life. And I kind of snickered because I was like, I make fun of frat guys a lot, and, he is right, though. Like, the core audience is frat people. I understand that, but he was very knowledgeable in the show. Like, even though I did some research before I even went into the movie, because I don't like to go in blind like that, he was really cool about it. He was like, hey, man, these are all the characters, here's all the relationships and stuff. So he actually gave me the 411 or whatever about the entire show. So I was like, thank you for that, sir. But there's a certain core audience for this, and this movie's definitely a fan service. Another thing that Bryan says, the cameos, they got a little ridiculous. Like, this is not going to be a spoiler because there's like 100 fucking cameos. Common's in the movie. He doesn't say a word. He's just there. And then, like, the next scene happens, he's gone. I will give a shout out, since I'm from Dallas, Texas, my boy, Mark Cuban, in the movie. I was pretty excited to see that. So, someone from my native land over here is the owner of the Mavericks. It was really cool to see him in there. So, yeah, what Bryan said about the negatives, I kind of agree with. Like I said, it's not really funny, haha funny, and some of the subplots are just kind of like whatever. The main plot's kind of whatever, and it wraps up way too damn fast. It also wraps up on like this perfect bow, and it's like this was basically a movie about nothing. It was.
Oh yeah, there was an after credit scene, by the way. Someone told me that there was an after credit scene, so I missed it, and I was really pissed off.
There was an after credit scene, and I watched it, and yeah, it was.
You saw it?
It was there. But yeah, as a person that has never seen the show, I enjoyed hanging out with these guys. I do like the way it was shot. I love like Hollywood in general. I just like movies about Hollywood or LA and stuff. And I realized that Doug Ellen, the creator of the show, also the co-producer, writer and director, listen, he glorifies a male fantasy of Hollywood. Let's get that straight. There's women's tits hanging out everywhere. There's sex happening all over the place. This is from the point of view of a guy who thinks of what Hollywood is supposed to be. From like the middle class, like me and Bryan. Like Doug Ellen's version of Hollywood is what we think Hollywood is. Because I'll guarantee you, when people see this movie that don't even watch the show, they'll be like, "Oh man, that's how Hollywood is. I want to go join that." Hollywood's not all like that, but yes, for the majority of it is. So it is Doug Ellen's fantasy of Hollywood, and it kind of implants it in our brains like, hey, this is what you should think Hollywood's like. So I understand that like it's not the most accurate representation, but I still had a fun time with it. It's well shot. It's just a fun time to hang out with these guys. And you know what? After what Bryan said, with Jeremy Piven winning 3 Emmys in a row, I believe it, because he kills in that row. So overall, as a person that has never seen the show, I have to, keep saying that because Bryan might have a different viewpoint on his score, but I enjoyed it. If you're curious about it, go check it out. But if you're not, just stay home or go watch something else. So out of 10, I can't rate it rotten because I did enjoy it. So, but I'm not going to rate it really that high. So I'm going to go 6 out of 10. So it barely goes over the hump for me as far as rotten. Because if it goes 5 out of 10, it's rotten. But I was like, I can't do that because I still had a fun time. So 6 out of 10 for me. Bryan, final thoughts, and what would you rate it out of your grading scale?
Well, I usually do letter grades. I give this film an A-. So I would give it out of 10. I believe that's like an 8.5, I think. So I wouldn't go higher. I think actually, the more I think about this movie, the more I really, really like it. I'm hoping to see it again, personally.
Okay.
So yeah, like 8 out of 10. Very good movie for me, at least. It was very good. It's not the funniest movie I've seen all year. Well, I mean, if you consider like Kingsman like a comedy, but that's like an action comedy. Same with Spy, which we'll be talking about next. Like that's also an action comedy. So like, would you like say that Kingsman's like a full-on comedy or no? Like
no, that's a straight-up action comedy. It's like it had the vibe of a Kick-Ass, which Matthew Vaughn also directed. So it was like that kind of like dark humor with really violent action. It's a pretty good combination when it's done right. So I thought it was more of like an action comedy.
So I guess this would probably be the funniest movie I've seen this year. Like there hasn't really been many great comedies this year. Like Hot Pursuit, whatever.
Well,
Wedding Ringer, didn't see it.
We're about to talk about another comedy up here shortly. So I mean, did Entourage still take that?
Well, It's kind of tied, actually.
Interesting.
Kind of tied.
Okay. So once Bryan gives his final thoughts, we can kind of segue into Spy. So you give it an A-, 8.5 out of 10.
Yes.
As a fan of the show, would you encourage people of the show to get off their butts and go see it?
Absolutely. If you're like a hardcore fan of the show, you probably have already seen the movie. If you're someone who really, really enjoys the series but doesn't like love it, like really, really likes it, I still recommend seeing this movie. Go on matinee. Don't pay full price. But like I said, if you're someone who's a hardcore fan, get off your butt. Go see this movie now. Pay full price. Get a big box of popcorn and enjoy the shit out of this movie and have a great time.
And those are true words spoken from a true fan. So that it's interesting to have my point of view and his point of view because we're on two completely different opposite sides of the scale in terms of the show. So that is our reviews of Entourage. So we mentioned another comedy, and it is the next movie on the list, which is Spy. This is the Melissa McCarthy, Paul Feig directed movie, who also directed her in Bridesmaids and The Heat. He also stars Rose Byrne.
Yes.
Oh, Jason Statham, gonna fucking kick your balls in, you motherfucker. It also has Jude Law, Allison Janney. I think that's it, and there's a bunch of side characters, but those are the main ones. So the plot reads: Melissa McCarthy, she's kind of like the earpiece, if you will. She's at the Secret Service base or whatever, and she gives information to like Jude Law's character, who is an agent, in order to tell him like where to go, if there's any people coming down the hallway and stuff. And she's basically, his eagle eyes from the sky. So, and then she becomes an agent herself. I'm not going to say how or anything. And it's basically just her, kind of misguided, funny ventures of being an agent and stuff, and really coming into her own as her own agent and stuff, and just kicking a lot of ass. So, I'll go first on this one. This is going to be really odd for me to say, because Bryan knows me. He knows that I'm the comedy guy. You guys know me. I'm the comedy guy. Fuck, I have a whole comedy show on a YouTube channel. This was fine. It was funny, but it's not like gut-bustingly funny like the critics made it out to be. Now, that's really hard for me to say because I really laughed really hard in a lot of spots, and I'm really glad that this was a really fun, funny movie that had some really good comedic genius moments. But I didn't really find it as like this hardcore, funny movie that people are making it out to be. So, I'll give my positive thoughts on it real quick, and I'll turn it over to Bryan. I really like Melissa McCarthy. I think her shtick has not died yet. I did not see Tammy, but Bryan can probably attest to you on that because I heard it was awful. But in this movie, I like her. Like, I've always liked her and stuff, and I think when she's under the direction of Paul Feig, she's allowed to do more improv and stuff and really just kind of loosen up a little bit on set, so it kind of feels more natural a little bit. But she killed in this role. She was really funny. I really like the second half of the movie because that's when she starts getting really crude and really brash with her character, and that's what I like to see. Because in the first half, she's kind of really timid and just like, I don't know if I'm doing anything. And in the second half, it's like she's saying "fuck you" to your face and stuff, and it's fantastic. So I really like the cast. Oh, fucking Jason Statham! That fucking man he is so damn funny in this movie. I swear to everything, like. The last joke that he has towards the end of it, I think Bryan knows what I'm talking about, when he enters a room, is the funniest thing. Because he hypes up throughout the entire movie that he's this badass. And, like, he's like, I jumped over a bridge in a car, and the car wasn't on fire. I was on fire. And it's like, he's really intense telling these stories, and then something happens at the end, and you fucking lose it, because it's so simple and mundane, but it's awesome. But Jude Law's funny. Allison Janney's great. Rose Byrne. Listen. This is one of those type of women that, like, she's attractive and gorgeous. She's also really fucking funny. And she's also, like, a really great actress in general. Like, she can actually deliver the good dramatic moments and deliver the really great comedic moments. But the star of the movie is obviously Melissa McCarthy. She's fantastic in it. I love the action in it. This is the first time where besides like 21 and 22 Jump Street, where I've seen an R-rated comedy have really good action in it, like really good violence. Brian, I don't know if you're with me on this, but when I was watching the movie, the violence in this is fucking graphic. It is fucking...
it's intense.
It's ridiculous. There's a scene where, like, there's acid that comes out of a body part, and it's, like, super detailed, and it's like, what the fuck am I watching? I'm watching a snuff film, and so it's really bloody, it's really violent, but it's so much fun because it goes with the raunchy humor and stuff. Here's one of the biggest positives that I have to say about the movie. Regardless if it's spoofing the kind of Bond genre, if you will, it actually has a really good story with really nice twists and turns that kind of stand on its own. So I actually really liked it. It actually stands on its own as a really just funny spy movie. So those are my positives I have to say about it. So the acting is on point. It's really funny. It's really violent. It's just a fun, good time. And it's actually a good story within its own right. So, Brian, what are some of the positives you found about Spy?
Well, first of all, I'm the big positive about the movie. I can't do a Jason Statham.
Brian, that was awful.
That
was fucking awful.
I know. Don't mock me ever again, Chase.
Like, Brian's crying right now. Brian's crying right now. No, listen, buddy. I'll help you out on the stage. Look, no, listen. If I was in a fucking car and I was going on a bridge, I would light myself on fire and then dunk myself into the lake. Like, mine's not like great either. Like, it's awful, by the way. But like, you have to like sound intense with your voice and like just, hey, I'm fucking Jason Statham. Why don't you go fuck yourself with a cat? Like, it's just stuff like that that just amuses me. But anyways, what did you like about Spy the most?
I really liked the movie a lot. Like, I thought it was really funny. I don't think it was as good as Bridesmaids. I think I liked it a little more than The Heat, but I still I enjoyed this movie very much. The comedy, there weren't, like, I laughed a lot too, but the movie was so damn violent. And the movie you didn't mention when it came to violence was Kingsman. I mean, Kingsman, it didn't have as much violence as this, but this movie was very violent. Like, holy crap, there's one point where someone falls and then something happens and then someone, like, oh my god, damn intense. And then at one point someone's in the car and they get shot in the head. Like, it's insane. Like, oh my god. At the same time, you're like, I shouldn't be laughing at this, but at the same time, you're like,
yeah, it's
insane.
great.
Like, it's really the action is actually very well done. It's very well done for a comedy. It's really well done. McCarthy's great in the movie. She really does stand out in this movie. Like you said in the first half, how she's kind of this sweet, toned down girl, and then at the end she's like this, I will put this up your ass, and if you don't shut up, I will cut off your fucking throat. Like, that's, like, she is just so intense in this movie, and I love it whenever she goes all out. Like, she is great whenever she's under Paul Feig's direction, like Bridesmaids and The Heat. But she was so good in both of those movies, especially Bridesmaids. Like, holy crap, I rewatched that the other day, and just, oh my god, one of the best female performances of this decade so far, comedic-wise. Probably my favorite comedic performance from a female of this decade. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, no, it's... I gotta hand it to Feig, man. Like, he can direct action pretty damn well. Now, listen, there was some action in The Heat, but it wasn't like to this extent. I was impressed at what he could do with an action movie. And I think this was kind of like his demo reel for Ghostbusters. Like, I was thinking about it, I was like, dude, he's going to kill it in Ghostbusters. But anyways, what were some of the things you didn't like about it?
Well, actually, back to the positives. Like, I didn't think, like, Jason Statham was my favorite thing about the movie. He stood out. Every scene he was in, he just stole it. I love how he was mocking himself in the way. And this is a great year for him with this and Furious 7. Great year for this guy so far. I love what he says at the end. I mean, just that scene, his entrance at the end. Holy crap. Oh, it's so fun. Every time you see him, like, his entrances in every single scene, it's so funny. Like, one point he's doing this face and then that face and that face. So freaking entertaining. Like, he's so freaking entertaining in this movie. Rose Byrne is gorgeous as fuck. There were many points during the movie when the first time she appeared on screen, I did Seth Rogen laugh. So I had to do that, and then someone, of course, had to turn around, and then they mimicked my laugh. So good for them. Bravo.
Good for them, you fuck.
I really liked her a lot in this movie. Like you said, she's so good at comedy. Like, she really knocks comedy out of the park. And Jude Law, for what he did in the movie, he did very good. And Allison Janney was so freaking great in this movie. And the friend, too. I mean, some people have been, like, mixed about her. I thought she was pretty funny. The friend, Melissa McCarthy's friend in this movie, I thought she was pretty funny.
She was okay. Like, she wasn't awful, but, like, she served her purpose.
Yeah. And, it wasn't, like, a slow movie. It was a pretty well-paced film, which is something good for a comedy, and there were many jaw-dropping moments, and definitely a lot of WTF moments. Like, there was one point during the movie, and I don't know if you know what scene I'm talking about. Maybe you do. It's when someone comes into a room and you didn't expect it at all, and then you're like, I was like, oh shit! Like, I yelled, and I was like, I never yelled in the movie ever. And at that point, I'm like, I had to yell because everybody else was like, oh, God, like, geez, like, it's insane. Like, yeah, those are really my positives. Like, the acting's very good, direction solid, action extremely well done, and overall good movie, just not as good as Bridesmaids, but slightly better than The Heat, in my opinion.
Yeah, I know, I totally agree. Like, I think Bridesmaids is Feig's best, and then it would go Spy, then The Heat. But Bryan also mentioned this, and I forgot to mention in my positives. It's for a 2-hour-long movie, it's paced really well. Like, it keeps the energy going. And yeah, it's got some of its down moments with some of the character development. But as far as, like, the comedy and the action goes, it really just has this nice, like, rhythm to it. Like, it keeps you entertained throughout the entire thing. So I forgot to mention with the positives. But Bryan, let's get to the N-word. What did you not like about it?
Some of the jokes didn't work. To me, it was more of an action movie than a comedy. There was one character in the movie that I didn't really like. It was this other Asian guy, and you know who I personally, there were people in my theater thought he was hysterical. There was only one moment where I laughed. I was like, ha, but every other moment was like, huh.
Yeah.
Like a very sarcastic laugh. So, like, yeah, I didn't really like that particular character. And someone that Melissa McCarthy meets halfway through the movie. And, I don't know, I wasn't quite fond of another character that kind of turned out to be the bad guy at the end of the movie. I'm not going to spoil who, but this person kind of turns out to be the bad guy, and I thought that was really rushed, in my opinion. That was a very rushed subplot, but yeah, that's really all my negatives with the movie.
You know what's really funny? All my negatives are what Bryan just said. Like, I have nothing to add. Like, Bobby Cannavale. I'm not going to say his character, but I like the dude as an actor. Thought he was kind of wasted in this movie. And it's like you said, he was kind of underdeveloped a little bit and kind of rushed. And yeah, some of the comedy didn't work for me. I thought in some parts they were trying way too hard. Now, I understand that McCarthy likes to kind of run around and be like that, you know, the funny fat person or whatever, and like kind of fall or do whatever. It just seemed like in some scenes she was trying too hard with her improv and kind of ad-lib a little bit. Most of the part, her ad-libs killed it. I loved her descriptions of most of the people in the movie or whatever, but yeah, she some of the lines didn't really work for me, but that goes with most of the characters. Some of them, their comedy was a little flat, and most of the people in my audience were laughing throughout the entire thing, except for when I was laughing. When I was laughing, everyone was fucking silent, so now I looked like a fucking goddamn hyena, and people were probably staring at me like, look at this fucking guy. Like, so, but no, I was laughing throughout most of the times, and when it fell flat, it kind of fell flat kind of hard. I was kind of like, yeah, it didn't really work for me. But it seemed like the movie kind of like had a little problem getting its footing a little bit in terms of the comedy. But then once it hit its stride, it was really well done. I think at the point when McCarthy finally becomes an agent, like when she starts to become one, I think that's when it started getting really funny. I think at the very beginning, it's kind of like, okay, I'm okay with it. But then, like, as soon as she started getting into the field and stuff, that's when it started going really good. And then when she turns her character and starts to become more of a badass and really abrasive, that's when it started getting super funny. And I kind of wish her character was like that throughout the entire thing. But I understand the character development because, like, she's really quiet and timid, kind of like that desk person. And then she becomes like a badass agent. So the character development was nice. I like that arc, but I just wish it happened a little sooner because I just loved her as kind of an ass bag. So those are my negatives on it. So I really had to think about this. Like I said, I totally agree with like all the positiveness of this movie, but I'm not on board with like this is one of the best comedies ever. It was damn funny, and it can stand on its own as a funny spy movie, and even as a spoof. But I was still kind of underwhelmed by most of it, even though I loved the majority. I loved all of it. I love the way it's directed. I love Paul Feig's action. I love most of the comedy, and I do like all the players involved. But it's still not the funniest movie I've ever seen, like some people are claiming. So I'm going to go. I don't think this is controversial, because, hell, it's still a positive review. I'll go 7 out of 10. I think it's a pretty good, solid comedy that you should go check out, especially if you're a fan of McCarthy. I, for one, did not see Tammy, but I heard that kind of tainted her career a little bit because a lot of people hated it. So 7 out of 10 for me. I think it's still pretty damn solid. That doesn't knock on what I just saw or what I just said about the movie. So, Bryan, out of your grade scale, out of your letter grade, what would you give it?
I would actually give it a B+, and basically 7. It would be like a 7 or 7.5. No higher than 7.5. Like, I still thought it was a really funny movie.
So we agree more on this movie than Entourage.
Basically,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Tammy kind of did ruin her career. I saw it, and I saw it for free in the theater. Like, I saw it on like one of those like $3 days in my local theater.
Yeah.
And it really was. It was really bad, and it sucked, and it was sad because it just didn't know what it was. So it kind of did ruin her career. But then she did St. Vincent, which a lot of people don't seem to be talking about because they only focus on her comedy.
Yeah.
And she was very toned down in that movie, and she was really good in that movie. But that was Bill Murray's movie.
Yeah.
But like after that, like going from like dramedy to a action comedy, it's a good move for her. It's definitely a good move for her, and I'm really, really pumped to see. Well, I'm curious to see what Paul Feig does with the Ghostbusters movie, which comes out next year.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be starting. I think it's going to start filming like the end of this month or the beginning of next month. So I'm very curious to see what he's going to do with that movie.
Yeah, I really am too. And you know, Paul Feig is a funny dude. This is the guy that created one of the best TV shows of all time, Freaks and Geeks. Like, he's a funny ass dude, and like he wrote and directed The Heat. He wrote and directed this one, and he did not write Bridesmaids. People think that, but no, it was actually written by Kristen Wiig and her partner Annie Mumolo. So, and they're actually nominated for an Oscar for that. So, Paul Feig is a funny dude. I'm super curious what he's gonna do with Ghostbusters. But as far as my ranking right now, it goes Bridesmaids, Spy, then The Heat, and I have no doubt in my mind that he's not going to kill it with Ghostbusters. I mean, you have Kate McKinnon, who does one of the best Justin Bieber impersonations on SNL, and then you have Ellen. She's really good on Ellen with Ellen too. You have Leslie Jones, who has recently become a favorite on SNL. Then you have Melissa McCarthy and Kristen Wiig. That sounds like a fucking great cast. Like I'm super excited for it, and the fact that he can do action really well. Like, he had a little action in The Heat, but Spy had some great action in it. So I cannot wait to see what he does with Ghostbusters. So those are our thoughts on Spy. Now, ladies and gentlemen, almost an hour and a half has gone by. We're going to get into some bickering. You guys want to hear it? You guys want to hear some shit that me and Bryan are going to throw down? Because here it goes. I saw Insidious 3, and I tweeted out to Lee Winnell, the writer and director of this film, and also the writer of all three of them. I tweeted out to him, I said, 5 years ago, I said Insidious was the best modern horror film that we've had. Now, after seeing the third one, it is the best modern horror trilogy, period, of modern time. Now, Bryan, I want you to tell the good kids at home how much you just love Insidious and how much you agree with me so much, and we're going to go see Insidious 3 together again. Like, I'm going to see this again, like... Are you going to tell people that you love it?
Oh, God. Okay. Listen, people. Listen.
Oh, fuck. Did you hear that? He said, listen, people. He's about to throw me under the bus. What is it, Bryan? What the fuck is it?
Listen, if you love these movies, fine. But, okay, here is the deal. When the first trailer came out for the first Insidious, in 2010 or 2011, I don't remember when the trailer came out, that trailer was excellent. That was the perfect trailer for a horror movie, and I was so pumped to see it. And I was unable to see the movie. I didn't get a chance to see the movie, and I regret not seeing it in the theater. Like, I would have loved to see it in the movie with a big crowd and everything. And because I didn't see it, many people were telling me, oh my god, best horror movie like forever, scariest movie I've ever seen. It's scarier than The Exorcist. Now, when I hear that something's scarier than The Exorcist, then I have like a strong curiosity when it comes to a movie like Insidious. So, when it came out on Blu-ray and DVD, I rented it on demand, and I was watching it. I was so pumped to watch it, and I was really let down with it. I was so let down. I'm like, this ain't even scary. This is scary. This is scarier than The Exorcist. Come on, people. People my age have terrible taste in film. And that's the truth. Not everybody, but a majority of them have a terrible taste in film. Like, one of them was like, oh, I want to see Poltergeist. I want to see Poltergeist. Poltergeist is going to make more money than Tomorrowland. Wrong.
Well, Bryan, also you're in high school, and everyone's favorite movie was Ouija. So,
correct.
So, Bryan, are you saying that I don't have good taste in film?
No.
Oh, I think that's what I think that's what he said.
We're all subjective when it comes to certain movies.
Yeah, I bet.
The only kid on earth that does not care for the Insidious movies. And also, what pissed me off even more was that it ended with a cliffhanger. The cliffhanger was intense and everything. I will admit that it was an intense cliffhanger. And by the way, like we mentioned before, Rose Byrne and Patrick Wilson and the old lady whose name I did not know, they killed it in this movie. Like, James Wan got great performances out of these actors. Like, that is probably my favorite thing about these films, even though I don't care for them. The performances are excellent, and the way the movies are shot, excellent. And then 2 years later, the sequel comes out. Yippee-ki-yay, yay, whatever. And I saw it and I hated it. There were some things I liked. Like I said, the performances, Rose Byrne especially, and Patrick Wilson, so good. He knows how to get those performances out of those actors. Visually, the films are stunning, but I'm like, well, I shouldn't say that I hated it, whatever. And, yeah. And then when they said they were going to make a third one, I'm like, why? And then when James Wan wasn't going to direct it, I'm like, why? What's the point? So, I mean, yeah, Lee Winnell's cool and everything, but I just don't care for these movies, personally. They're just, if they were scarier, then I would have liked them more. But since I'm not scared by them, if a horror movie ain't scary, it doesn't do its job right, unfortunately. And if they were scary, I probably would have liked them more. Maybe I'll give them a shot again, but as of right now, I kind of don't want to, personally.
Bryan?
Yes.
I love you, buddy, but fuck you. So here's what we're going to do. Bryan's going to ask me questions about the third one, and I'm going to throw down. Bryan gave his points, and now we're going to fight this out, and I'm going to try my best to defend this franchise, because it is definitely the best modern horror franchise we've had since the year 2000. So, Bryan, go ahead. Ask away. Let's see if I can do this.
Okay, let me ask you this. Okay. Is this the best one in the series?
No.
Okay. Which to you is the best one?
The first one.
Okay. Is this better than Insidious 2?
I love Insidious 2. I think they're both on par.
Okay. How do you think Lee Winnell did stepping in for James Wan as the director?
It's almost like you couldn't even tell there was a director switch.
Yeah, like, if I didn't know that, like, when I saw the trailer, like, part of me forgot that Lee Winnell was directing, and I'm like, James Wan's doing this too? Like, Furious 7 and Insidious 3 coming out the same year, cool. And then when it said directed by Lee Winnell, I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. Now, people have been saying, and I don't know if you agree with this, Dermot Mulroney, great actor, I love the guy. People say he's good for, like, the first, like hour, but then somehow he, like, kind of changes within the last, like, hour of the movie. Like, he kind of feels like, oh, I'm just here to do it, whatever. Do you agree when people are saying that, or no, not really?
I think they got that backwards. I kind of felt like he was like that in the first half, but in the second half he actually found his stride, and I actually thought he was pretty good.
Now, how was the girl in the movie?
She was good. Like, she wasn't anything like outstanding, but like, she was great. My favorite actress in this entire franchise, she is the heartbeat of this franchise, is Lynn Shay. You know, Elise.
That's what everyone's saying.
Yeah, no,
I loved her in the first one. She was probably my favorite thing about the first film.
Yeah, no, she's definitely the heartbeat of this franchise, and she carries this one too. Like, the cast is all around good. Now, I will have to give Lee Winnell serious props, brother. If you're listening to this, please come on. Because I've been a fan of yours since the first Saw. this is the first film you have directed. You fucking killed it. Listen, horror films are not supposed to be well acted. They really aren't. He actually brings out really great performances from everyone. I loved Lin Shaye's performance. I liked him in all three of them. Like I said, she is the driving force of this franchise. And all the newbies did really well. But yeah, she's definitely the best one.
And well, just let me ask you this personally. Do you consider these movies more of a horror movie or like just thrilling? Because to me, like some people think, oh, it's not meant to be scary, but they market it as something that's scary. To you, do these movies stand out as horror movies or just something else?
No, these are horror movies, and I can tell you the three things that make a horror film. If you have these three things in a horror film and you do them all well and they're executed to the highest regard, you will have a brilliant horror film. What are those three things? Atmosphere, tension, and lighting. Now let me explain. If you have a horror movie that is filled with atmosphere, it creates tension. And when you have that tension, you're going to have just that heightened suspense going through your body and like having your heart pound. And like every single time I've seen an Insidious movie, that's how I feel. I feel on the edge of my seat, like nervous because I have no idea what's going to happen. Because I love it. Like if you guys know the franchise, there's a place in these films that's called The Further. And this is where the dead are. And if you go reach out to spirits in The Further, they can latch on you and they can come back with you. And it's a very creepy, visual, atmospheric type of world, and it creates that tension. And you're probably thinking to yourself, how does lighting play into all this? If you have a well-lit horror movie, your movies are 10 times better than most movies. Because if you create the right shadows on certain characters or certain creatures or whatever, it can really heighten that suspense and tension up. So if you nail all three of those, which Insidious and all three of them have done, then you create a very good and unique kind of old school horror film of how they were made back in the day. And I think that's really why I like them so much, Bryan, is because they remind me of like a really old school horror film like from the 50s. It's a very simple ghost story, but it has the atmosphere, the tension, and the lighting to where it's like a horror movie you don't see anymore. And we get shit like Ouija, where it's just cheapo horror jump scare crap. Yeah, there are jump scares in this, but they're effective, and they kind of make me nervous as they're happening because I know something's going to happen, but it's filmed in such a way, or it's cut in such a way, or it's lit in a way where it's so creepy. And that's why I think it's a horror film. Now, did I make my case, Bryan? Oh, Bryan's nodding. He's thinking a little bit because he knows that I just fucking schooled him. You son of a bitch. Don't like any Insidious movies. Come on.
I'm sorry.
You're breaking my balls here.
It's scary to me. Like, when a horror movie doesn't scare me, then I don't care for it personally.
Breaking my balls, Bryan. So, do you have?
Listen, I'll give all three of them a shot. I'd rather binge watch all three of them. So when the third one comes out, like on DVD or Netflix or whatever, I will binge watch all of them. Maybe I'll like them more the next time. So maybe.
What do you have any other questions for me before I get into like a review of it?
Well, not quite. I think I asked you every question I need to ask.
Okay. Well, just to kind of give you a good review on it, like, let's start with the directing. Leigh Whannell, who is the writer of all three of them and the director of this one. James Wan, like Bryan said, previously did the first two. He also did The Conjuring. So, with Leigh Whannell taking hold of it, in which I will say, James Wan actually has a cameo. So it's actually really funny to hear him act. He's only okay at it. But I think Leigh Whannell really nailed the tone of these movies. And you have to keep in mind, this is the guy that wrote all three of them. And he's been James Wan's partner for years, ever since 2003 or 4's Saw. They've been buddies and cohorts ever since. So he knows this franchise like the back of anyone's hand. Like I said, he wrote it, and he's also in the movie. He's also on set of the first two. So him kind of taking over the reins of the third one, he really nailed like the vibe and tone of what this whole franchise is about. And I really respected that because it's like I told Bryan, you couldn't even tell there was a director swap. So the directing is all around really good. He nailed the tone, and the acting, it's good. Like, you don't expect good horror acting anymore, so he got really great performances out of everyone. Now, I will say, one of the negatives, I didn't like the brother. The little kid that played the main character's brother, didn't like him. Didn't like her friend either. They were just kind of whatever. And Dermot Mulroney, I didn't like him at first, but I kind of grew on him, or he kind of grew on me, like towards the tail end of it. So all the actors were solid except for those two, so I have no complaints on that. As far as the writing goes, it's just like any other Insidious movie. It's a really creepy ghost story. It's got some really good mythology of the further, and it really explores that a little bit more. Since this is a prequel, I forgot to mention that it is a prequel. It takes place a few years earlier than the events of the first one, so keep that in mind. So the directing and writing, there's my thoughts on that. The acting, like I said, everyone does a really good job. Lynn Shay, and like I said, she is the heartbeat of this entire franchise. It will be really sad when she gets killed, because at some point she will, because she is basically going into dangerous situations all the time. She's going to kick the bucket eventually, but she's definitely the best actor. Lee Winnell and Angus Sampson, they play the Ghostbusters guys in the movie. They're fine, they're funny, they're like the comic relief and stuff. But they still play a pivotal point in the movie. The main actress, she's fine, but like what Bryan said, I prefer Patrick Wilson and Rose Byrne more, because they're more seasoned actors than she is. She's kind of new onto the scene, so I don't blame her for that, but she does good for what she's given. Dermot Mulroney's, was fine towards the second half. So, that's pretty much all the acting. Cinematography, this is what's great about these fucking movies. These movies are shot so damn well.
I agree with you. They're all both of the first two are beautifully shot. They're very well shot.
Like, I'm not joking when I say this. Hey, Academy, if you don't have a fifth slot picked out for best cinematography, pick it, because it deserves it. The thing with the Insidious movies is that they're so rich in color, and they're just so deep in shadows. It creates a visual kind of feast for your eyes when you're watching these movies, and I just really love the color palette in all of them. I just love how they pop out in certain scenes and how they're dimmed down in certain scenes. It's just they're just so great to look at, and I love it when they go into the further. Every time they go into the further in these movies, it is shot so fucking well. You have the rich blues in the back and the darkness in the background. You have the one canteen light that they have on their face, and then you have the fog on the ground. What the fuck? Who is shooting these things? Who's lighting these things? Because you guys are fucking badass. As far as the editing goes, I think it's like an hour and a half, hour 40. If you found the first two boring, probably not going to like this one. It's got the same beats as the first two. In terms of, there's a possession that latches on to the main character. Lin Shaye has to come in, go into the further and kind of defeat it and stuff. And so, I thought the pace and the rhythm were done fairly well. It's, it kind of is what it is. I was entertained. But someone like a Bryan that hates life and hates puppies, he might just find the pace and the rhythm awful. I'm kidding. Bryan has animals, I do not. So if anything, I'm the puppy hater, which I'm not, by the way. I'm just saying that he has animals and I don't. I like puppies. But as far as the pace and rhythm go, it's fine. It's paced very well for a horror film. And like I said, if you really like these movies and the suspension and the tension and just the kind of putting your body through that fright fest is enough to keep you interested. So, my favorite one of the week, for sure, I know Bryan just hates me saying that, I'm going to give it a solid 8 out of 10. I think it's a very enjoyable installment of this, and I cannot wait to see the fourth one. I think it's probably one of my favorite prequels in a long time. It has stuff that leads into the first one, so a lot of characters coming back and stuff. There's a lot more development within Lin Shaye's character, and a lot more development into the further, and kind of like, a more motivation of why she's doing this and stuff, and to help people out and stuff. So it's just a really nice installment, and I cannot wait to see the fourth one, because like Bryan said, that's the one thing that pissed me off about the second one. Lee Winnell, I love you, man, but why in the fuck did you leave the second one on a cliffhanger, and in this one it's a prequel, so you're not even address it? Me and my roommate believe that it will probably be addressed in the fourth one. And I have a sneaky suspicion of what she saw at the end of number 2 and why she was so shocked, because in the third one you kind of a little bit know more like what's after her. So I'm kind of curious to see how you're going to continue the story. I've said this once or twice, and I'll say it again. Ever since I saw the first one in 2010, when Bryan was a tadpole, because Bryan's way younger than me. When the first one came out in 2010, I walked out and I said that was the creepiest, scariest, most fresh horror film I have seen in a very long time that actually creeped me the fuck out, and that was PG-13. The second one, great installment. I love the mythos of the Bride in Black. I love the mythos of The Further, and they explore that a little bit more, and it was just as creepy. The third one is a great prequel to set everything up and just kind of explains a lot more with Lin Shaye's character and stuff. This franchise is doing everything right so far. It's one of the best modern horror trilogies. I will go on record on saying that. And as long as Lee Winnell and James Wan are somewhat tied into the franchise, I think this franchise will be one of the best horror franchises out there. Insidious Chapter 3 gets my seal of approval. Go see if you're a fan of the franchise. And if you just hate life like Bryan does and you don't want to see it, he's right. You're probably going to hate it. So, 8 out of 10 for me, a solid 8 out of 10. Like I said, my only quips were some of the actors and stuff. And some of the dialogue was kind of cheesy, but, I still like the story behind Insidious. It's so simple, but it delivers in such a great way, especially if you're one of those thrill seekers that love horror films and you love to scare the shit out of yourself. So that will do it, guys. Those are our main portions of this fine ass meal that I call a podcast. So those are our reviews of Entourage, Insidious 3, Spy. Guys, there's a lot of good movies playing out. Go pick one. Avengers, Mad Max, Insidious 3, Spy, Entourage. There's a lot of good shit playing, guys. So go see a movie, which leads me into the box office results. Now, Bryan has not seen the numbers because I don't allow any guest to see it or I will castrate you. So he's going to guess the top 5 of the weekend, and he had, this is going to be tough because Bryan knows that 3 movies came out. He knows that there's 4 movies that were already in the top 5 from last week, so what shifted, what did not. So Bryan, take it away, brother. What is the box office results for the weekend, 1 through 5?
Okay, number 5. Brain fart. Number 5.
That's not a movie unless Adam Sandler already made it. Hey, there you go. Yeah, there you go. There was the Adam Sandler joke we were all waiting for.
Number 5, Pitch Perfect 2.
Okay.
Number 4, Entourage. I hate that it has to be low. I really hope it isn't. Number 3, San Andreas. Number 2 and number 1. God, I wouldn't be surprised if any of these 2 are number 1. Number 2, Insidious 3. And number 1, Spy. Ugh.
How many did Bryan get right? He got 2 right. The 2 that he got right were 2 new releases. So let's do it. Number 5 was not Pitch Perfect 2. This movie is pulling a Kingsman, staying in the top 5 week after week. We have Mad Max Fury Road at number 5, and it outbeat Pitch Perfect 2 by $200,000. It was really close. So Mad Max got $7.9 million this weekend. Its budget right now is $150. It's made $130 domestic, which is the U.S. and Canada box office. So worldwide, Bryan, ladies and gentlemen, let's clap for Mad Max. It's in the green zone. It has broken past even, and it's making profit. Its worldwide gross right now is $307, with a budget of $150. So you double that to break even $300. It's made $7 million profit right now. So we're getting a sequel, ladies and gentlemen, because the word of this movie is going to keep going and keep going. It's going to make more money. We're getting that fucking sequel. So, good job, Mad Max. So, number 4 was one of the ones he got right. Entourage came in at number 4, which I told Bryan it probably would be very low. But, Bryan, how much did it make?
$9 million.
Close. Made 10.
Okay, that's good enough, I guess, for that movie.
But, you guys, we forgot to tell you that this movie opened up on Wednesday. So, that was the weekend. So, from Wednesday to Sunday, how much do you think it made?
15.
Close. 17. Which is exactly
Nice.
what me and Bryan thought it was going to make. I told him that 20 was going to be its cap. It was not going to go beyond that. So we actually nailed it pretty much dead on. The budget is unknown. There was no worldwide for it. So right now it's only made 17.
I don't think it had a very high budget. I think it had a 30 million budget, no higher than like 40 million. So.
Yeah, no, it was definitely very low. So that came in at number 4 with 10.4. It's total right now 17.8. So number 3, Insidious 3. Now, it still made a pretty good chunk of change for how cheap it was, and now Bryan's, celebrating over there, drinking shots like no one's business, and I'm flipping him off. How much do you think Insidious made?
I think it made like 22 million.
Oh my, dude, he's doing good today. 23.
Oh,
23.
Ah, damn.
So 23 million for Insidious Chapter 3. Does not have a budget, but we all know that Jason Blum is notorious for making his movies on the cheap. Worldwide, it's got 37 million. I'm gonna take a random guess. Its budget was probably no more than 5 million. It's made huge profit. So good job, Insidious. I make another one. Jason Blum, I love you, dude. Come on the podcast. I want to pick your brain. So number 2. San Andreas. With how much, Bryan?
The 26.
He got it! Look at that! Dude, Bryan's a fucking wizard this weekend. Alright, so San Andreas made $26.4 million at number 2. There's no budget on this thing, but worldwide, this is not bad for a Dwayne Johnson movie. 152. Not bad.
Did you see it?
No. I'll probably see it when it goes Netflix.
I saw it. I enjoyed it.
Yeah,
it was enjoyable.
I love disaster porn, so I'll probably watch it. But I'm really glad that, because listen, Dwayne Johnson, like, he's a pretty serviceable actor. Like, he can do.
Oh yeah, he is.
Yeah, he can actually act, ladies and gentlemen. And listen, he came from an acting background because that's what wrestling is. Wrestling is fake. All you fucking WWE likers. But he's got charisma. He's got chops. He can make it really far in this industry. This is definitely one of his highest grossing ones as a solo film. So I'm really proud of him. So good job, man. So number 1, Bryan got it right. That was the second one he got right, was Spy. But how much did it make, Bryan?
30.
Oh my God. He nailed that dead on, folks. Number 1, Spy. And there's not even any numbers. It's just, or numbers after the 30. It's straight up 30 million. Like, Bryan nailed that 100%. Does it have a budget listed? No. But worldwide, it's made 86 million. I actually looked up the numbers. Paul Feig's The Heat, I think, was like a $39 million opening. So a little on the less side, but nonetheless, Bridesmaids, 169 domestically. The Heat, 159 domestically. This movie's going to fucking skyrocket. Like, it's going to make money. So I have no doubt that it's not going to ever make any profit back. So
it's probably going to be number 2 this next weekend. So
yeah,
it's definitely going to be very high next weekend.
But we all know, me and Bryan are not stupid, that number 1 next week will be Jurassic World, but it's just a matter of how much. So, Bryan, let's go ahead and make some predictions. How much do you think Jurassic World's going to make?
Okay, I don't think it's going to make anything higher than 55 million. If it makes anything lower than 55.
Ooh, but, Bryan, you're kind of lowballing it a little bit. I think it'll actually make anywhere from 60 to 70.
Yeah, like I said, nothing lower than 55.
And you got you gotta keep in mind. Keep in mind that they got 3D and IMAX screens. So that's a little bit of a bump. So, but I think me and Bryan are pretty much nailed it. Like, it's going to happen anywhere from 50 to 70. But yeah, Jurassic World comes out next week. So that will do it, guys. That's the end of the box office results. I want to thank Bryan for coming on. This is one of the longest podcasts I've had in a while, almost 2 hours. But you know what? We had a lot to talk about, and Bryan was a good guest, like always. He will be back if you do love him, except when we're talking about Insidious. Then you have my permission to hate him. You have my permission to die, Mr. Sudfield. That was a terrible Bane impression. I can do a lot better one. All right, you ready for it? When Gotham is ashes, you have my permission to die. And that was also awful. Listen, I can't do Tom Hardy. Sue me. So anyways, Bryan, where can the good kids find you online?
Okay, people, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at BryanSuds98. That is BryanSudz98. And you can find me on YouTube at youtube.com/BryanSudfield. And you can listen to my podcast every 2 to 3 weeks, Sundays.
What a schedule.
Yeah, hey, it's not because of me. It's because of my co-host. Okay.
His co-host is a beautiful actress that's always away, so that's why.
Yeah, exactly. It's all her fault. And our next episode, we've already done 6 episodes so far. Chase appeared on 2 of them, Tom Hanks and Denzel.
What up? What up?
And our next episode will be on Jonathan Depp. No one calls him that, but that's what I call him.
That's what I call him when I have coffee with him, Bryan. He is called that. Okay.
What if you had coffee with him?
Dude, I had coffee with him, and I was like, dude, can you create a character where you're Jack Sparrow and your character from Blow, so you're Jack Sparrow on Coke? Like, and he was like, I'm okay with that. And so, no, he actually wore his Whitey Bulger makeup, and he scared the living shit out of me. So, hey, Bryan, What'd you marinate that steak in? Because this is the best goddamn thing I've ever had.
You literally did this on our Denzel episode. You were going to make me do this again?
I did. Like, I'm asking you, what'd you marinate your steak in, Bryan?
Is that any of your business? It's a family recipe, bitch.
Oh, okay. So, anyways, if you want to find Bryan's stuff, all the links will be in the description below. Go follow the kid. He's one of the good movie reviewers. I only follow a certain few, and he is one of them. So what am I going to talk about next week, guys? You guessed it. Fucking Jurassic World, motherfucker. We're going to have some dinosaurs on this bitch, and we're going to go back 60 million years. I'm excited. Huge fan of the first one. Second one, I like it. Third one, cool. Fourth one's coming out, so we're gonna talk about it. So that will be on next week's episode, guys, for episode 82 of Real Me and Colin, the movie podcast. I'm Chase Lee. If you want to follow this show on Spreaker here, click that follow button. Follow me, and you can listen to this thing live. And whenever Bryan's on, or whenever Jackson's on, or whatever guest I have, you can listen to me live. And I'm also on iHeartRadio. If you guys want to subscribe to my YouTube channel, it's youtube.com/Shabutnik75. You can find movie reviews, podcasts, skits, whatever. I do a lot of stuff that'll keep you occupied while you're taking your shit out of your work in your toilet. So, if you guys want to follow me on Twitter, it's @RealChaseLee. Facebook, facebook.com/RealReviewsWith Chase Lee. Like that some bitch, and you get updates when I post these things. So, I want to thank Bryan for coming on one more time. So, if you're not a movie lover and you stumbled across this thing and you held on for dear life until the very end, hopefully I convinced you to be one. Hopefully Bryan convinced you to be one. I will see you guys next week for my review, talk, or whatever of Jurassic World. I might have a guest on next week. I'll have to talk to him about it, but that will do it for this week's episode, guys, of Real Me and Colin, a movie podcast. You guys are awesome. Go watch some fucking movies. You guys are, I love you all. You guys are all badass. Let's all hang out sometime. Let's all go see a movie. Okay? Have a good day, good night, good whatever. So, see you guys next week for another episode of Real Me and Colin, a movie podcast. Goodbye.